Sam here today. We're going to talk about snatch technique that you guys are going to see in the upcoming cycle that we have programmed. First things first, we're going to talk about foot stance, how to obtain your grip, and just general technique here on the barbell here in a minute. So first things first, you come up to the bar. You'll notice that depending on what type of bar you have, there's two rings typically on the bars. The closer one is going to be your power ring. The outside one is going to be your Olympic ring. Okay. Sometimes you'll have a bar that has one or the other, so it's good to kind of know the difference between the two and how to use them. So typically with the Olympic ring, that's where you're going to be grabbing the bar for movements such as snatch, whereas the power ring is used to kind of determine your hand measurement during lifts like the bench press or clean, etc. Okay. So when we go to pick up the bar, the first thing that we're going to do is find our grip. And in order to find our grip, we'll have a full grasp on that bar, and we're going to actually drop our knees down slightly while we keep our torso upright. Notice how that bar is resting in the creases of my hip pockets right there. What we want to try to avoid is a grip that's too wide, that places that bar up above our waist, or a grip that's too narrow, that places that bar down on our thighs. Okay. The easiest way to determine that is to lock your hands or lock your arms all the way out. Again, we'll squat down and have that bar on our hip crease, or we can lock those arms all the way out, kind of balance on one leg, get that bar on our hip crease, and it should put us in that proper position. Okay. The other thing that we're going to talk about is stance. Typically with Olympic weightlifting, when you're going for a 1RM, or you see guys on the platform doing the heavy Olympic weightlifting movements, whether it's snatch or clean and jerk, they're going to have a stance that is somewhat narrow. That's how I coach all of my weightlifting athletes. However, for the work capacity efforts that you're going to see here, we're going to establish a slightly wider stance, which you're going to see here in a minute when we move to the barbell and talk about technique. Now, when we come to the barbell again, we're going to look for that wider stance for that setup. So it should be approximately shoulder width. We don't, again, not too narrow, not too wide. Toes pointed slightly outward. And we're going to place that bar right above our toes or our forefoot. Okay, we don't want that bar all the way up against our shins like a deadlift. We'll talk about that next. As we get down into position, we'll find that grip based on where that ring is at and where we're grabbing that bar. And as we get down in position, notice I'm going to drop my hips down. I don't want to have those hips extended in any way, shape, or form. I'm actually going to drop those hips down and bring my shins to the bar. Okay, that's going to create that nice pulling motion for us when we come off the ground and start that first pull with the snatch. Okay, now again, slightly wider stance. As we go to lift this bar off the ground, a lot of times what I see with athletes is I'll see them raise their hips or pop their hips when they come up. So we want to make sure that when we go to pick this weight up off the ground, those hips are nice and low. Hips and shoulders will rise together. As that bar crosses my knees, I'll go ahead and then extend. Notice how I receive that bar into my hips with those knees slightly bent and the torso upright. So now when we go to execute the snatch, you'll see hips and shoulders will rise together for that first pull before the bar crosses my knees. As that bar crosses the plane of my knees, my shoulders will start to rise. I'll bring that bar to my hips and then execute the snatch up overhead. Again, because this is a power snatch, as we go to extend and catch that bar, we're going to catch that bar in a quarter squat, stand all the way up to execute the movement. Again, if you get an angle from the side, I'll go ahead and move this bar real quick. You'll notice that as I go to execute this power snatch, the barbell is going to stay relatively close to my body. What we want to try to avoid is we make contact with those hips, is that bar swinging out. So instead of keeping those arms straight and catching, I'm actually going to pull up and catch with that bar above my head. Such. Hopefully those tips help you out with this week's work capacity cycle, and we'll see you back here.